Are you an overwhelmed SaaS founder ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where your customer journey isn't a checklist. It's not even a naughty and nice list, although I guarantee client success knows who the naughty customers are. No, it's a movie. And if you don't design the experience, they'll assume it's a low-budget sequel and quietly stop watching. And maybe go on a search for SquarePants. I don't know. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. When did customer experience quietly turn into a checklist instead of a story worth telling? Funnels, flows, onboarding steps, they all look great on a slide. But somehow customers still ghost or churn or never feel quite connected to the brand or the product. And that's a problem. Customers don't move through steps, they move through narratives. Narratives about who they are, about where they're going, and whether your product helps them win along the way. In this episode, we unpack why the most effective growth lever isn't another feature or automation. It's belief. Not in Santa, but in you and your story. You'll hear how shaping the story customers tell themselves builds confidence, momentum, and why helping them spot evidence of progress can be more powerful than any dashboard metric. We also dig into what happens when AI makes everything faster, but relationships thinner, and why community, emotional connection, and intentional moments matter more than ever before. You'll learn how to choreograph customer experiences the way a great show is staged, designed to create feelings, not just outcomes, and how those feelings translate into real results like loyalty, renewals, referrals, and yes, of course, revenue. If you want customers who don't just use your product, but rave about it, come back for more, and bring others along with them, this conversation will change how you think about the experience entirely. Let's get into it. Our expert guest last Thursday was Jimmy Gibson, VP of Brand Communication at Thrive Internet Marketing Agency. He joined us to explore what happens when strategy meets storytelling and clarity replaces noise. Jimmy was a professional magician before getting into marketing, and he showed us why great brands don't just communicate, they connect like a great magic show. From creating emotional resonance that actually drives growth, this episode was a masterclass in cutting through distraction and earning attention that lasts. And our founder last week was Eagle Ostus. Fantastic episode. He is co-founder and CEO of Unleash. And Eagle took us on a deep dive into the future of modern software delivery. He unpacked why traditional DevOps isn't enough anymore and how feature ops gives teams the safety, speed, and control they need in an AI-driven world. From feature flags at scale to shipping with real business context, Eagle shared how the best teams move fast without breaking trust. If you care about velocity and reliability, this one really hits home. It's a great episode. If you missed either one, you've got to go back and check those out. My guest today is Jason Friedman, return guest. He is co-founder and CEO of The Radical Company. He's an entrepreneur, author, and business scaling expert whose journey defies every conventional playbook. Jason's built and exited 5 companies, generated over $200 million in revenue, and helped top universities raise billions. But his story doesn't start in the boardroom. It starts on the road as a touring roadie for legends like Rush and Peter Gabriel. After surviving stage 4 cancer, Jason transformed lived wisdom into scalable frameworks that help founders build businesses that actually mean something. Through methodologies like the Power of One, the Kinetic Customer Formula, and the Radical Method, Jason helps entrepreneurs design soul-aligned brands, unforgettable customer experiences, and communities that don't just buy, but believe. Welcome someone who's lived the story, survived the plot twist, and now helps founders write a better one. Jason Friedman. Hey, Jason, welcome back to SaaS Fuel.
Thanks for having me back, Jeff. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, really excited to have you here again. It was a great conversation last time and wanted to bring you back and talk more. Just go back to the beginning, how you got to where you are today, backstage roadie to billion-dollar brands. What was the first time you realized that story and stagecraft weren't just for concerts, but actually for companies as well?
That's a great question. I actually vividly remember this. As you said, I was a theater guy. I was a theater kid. I went to camp in the summer and did like plays and stuff. And I won't bore you with all the details of that story, but I went into it out of college. And so I was a rock and roll roadie. I toured with Rush, Peter Gabriel, Fleetwood Mac, and Run DMC and Public Enemy. Then I did some more like legit Broadway type shows like Les Mis, Jesus Christ Superstar, Madame La Mancha. And Jesus Christ Superstar, I was actually the assistant lighting designer working for the lighting designer. I wasn't supposed to be on the show. And so I was literally at one of the production meetings, and it was like the director, stage manager, all the key actors, the design team, whatever. And there was this conversation about like, how is this, what was it going to do? Like, what was going to happen and how we were going to stage it. And they did a read through. And I was just observing, the young punk kid. I was in my early 20s. And man, like the director was talking about like the audience more than the script. And I was just like listening, paying attention. And he started saying, okay, like here's where I want them to like have a gasp. And here's where I want them to do this,
Yeah.
the audience. And here's where I want them to here's where I want them to jump to their feet and applaud. And he was like choreographing the audience's reaction. And I was like, this guy's on crack. What is like? I thought we were like figuring out like which actor's going to do what thing. And he started
Right.
from the audience perspective. And so like he went through this whole thing and all the rehearsals and whatever. And so opening night ended up like running the show because the guy that was supposed to wasn't doing a great job. And there's all this like automated lighting. So I was backstage with the lighting console. And the way it works is like the stage manager calls a cue, like lights one, go. And I hit a button because it's all pre-programmed. So I'm just sitting there like hitting the button, doing my thing. And there's a camera that's focused on the audience that we can all see so that the stage manager knows what's going on in the audience and can see on stage and whatever. And so I have the same video set and I'm watching and I'm realizing like, holy crap, everybody's doing what the director wanted them to do in reaction to the show that he talked about that first time. Like it was like formulaic, like the audience hit all their cues. Like when he wanted the gasp, they gasped. When he wanted
Right.
and I was just like, that is like crazy. Like he's literally manipulated the people to do that, but he caused them to have that reaction. Right. And so he really did all the things on the journey, if you will, that got that reaction from people. And I started literally thinking about like, where else can you do this? Like, how do you take people through that? And that's where I started getting really focused on the whole idea of client experience. Like when I got brought into my first job, it was to help them figure out how to put in, I would say, theater technology, like televisions, audio-visual, lights, the whole nine yards in a retail store. It was a store of the future that they were building for Foot Locker, actually. And so we were like looking at where are we going to put screens and where we're going to do this. And I asked a question that everyone thought I was crazy, but I said to the guy, like, why do you want the screen there? And there's an outlet. And I'm like, that's
not a great
I
reason.
get it, but let's back up for a second. So someone watches the piece of media on the screen. What would you have them do? I want them to buy more shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So if the whole goal is to get them to buy more stuff, like what makes them buy more stuff? What's the content on the screen going to be? Like, and the guy was like, I don't know yet. I'm like, okay, let's start there because you might not even need screens. And so I was there, like the way I was going to help make money was by selling more screens, actually. I was more of a technology person in that scenario than I was the creator of the experience. But it didn't make sense to me to just put up the screen there. Like, why are we going to do that? And so we started this whole dialogue and it turned into this fact-finding mission of like, how do we get people to buy more? What are buying behaviors looking? How do you choreograph that? And literally went back to that exact same theatrical thing. If I want the audience to do this, what are the things that have to happen in order for that to be true, right? And so as we went through that whole experience, we started to really design it intentionally so that people would spend more time, stumble over certain things, do what we wanted them to do in the store to get that reaction. And it worked. Like that store that we designed and we built got a 400% increase in sales by doing that, right? And so they were like, wow, like that's cool. They had the same reaction. And like we were all a little surprised, to be honest with you. We didn't expect it to be that amazing, We expected to sell some more stuff, but it was like dramatic, obviously, like a 4x increase, right? So then we tested, that was right outside of Boston. So we tested it again in right outside of Chicago in Oak Brook, Illinois. And we had the same result, like about a 400% increase in sales. Then we tested it
Wow.
again right outside of New York City in Stamford, Connecticut, and we had a 400% increase in same store sales. So they're like, holy crap. And so then we rolled it out to thousands of locations across the world, like Japan, all throughout the US, Canada, Mexico, you name it, we were there. And we had different levels for like flagships versus different tiers of like demographics and like location and all that kind of stuff. But it was tremendous. And it was all based around that thing that you just asked me. How did it all start? And that's really where it came from, like that theater connection of understanding that and then literally choreographing the steps, the stages, the things that people went through. And so I built a pretty significant business doing that. And my whole career, like every business, I've owned businesses in different markets and spirits and software and all sorts of things, but it's all based on understanding that journey so intimately and designing it with intention to get the result that we most want.
And that is the sign of a good director when they're looking at the audience and what is the journey we want to take them on? What do they want to feel at every single scene? What does the roller coaster look like? Because if it's all flat, that's not a memorable performance.
No.
But when the audience goes on that journey and they have the highs and they're with you and then they're in the lows, and don't leave us here, and then you go back up. And that's what a great director does. And I love that you're able to take that and put that into the customer journey as well.
Yeah.
And you have this concept of flow over force. And so you're just like in the stores, you're getting that flow. And what next? What do we want them to feel? What do we want them to do? What's the next action to take?
Totally.
And I think in software, we get weird with that. And we just want them to, like the store manager, we just want them to buy stuff.
Yep.
And they'll get there. But what does that look like? What do they need to know? What do they need to feel? What do they need to think? What do they need to believe in order to take the next step and the next step and the next step?
Yeah.
And get in that flow.
Yeah. The crazy thing, I'll come back to the flow and force thing in a second because I want to talk about that. But the crazy thing is this, like people think that they can just choreograph the steps that people move through, right? But people don't move in steps. People move in stories. They move in stories, the stories in their head, the belief patterns that they have. And so if you really want to move people, you have to help them create the stories that move them in the direction you want. Right. And so there's a lot of work that has to happen. It's not just finding the right step or changing the step. It's understanding what's going on in the itty bitty shitty committee conversation inside the head and how we help them have a different story that allows them to have confidence to move forward or belief to move forward or removes a fear that something's not going to work. And so as we design journeys or we build businesses or we think about offers we make and whatever, it is really about understanding that client so deeply. And the thing that I also take from theater, and I think we talked about this the last time, is really understanding if you're going to do a show, the actor has to get into character. And so if you can do that with your audience, with your avatars, if you can really embody them in a way and look through and follow the journey through their steps, through their shoes, through their lens, you start to see it and have an empathy and an understanding. And most of us, and I know especially in software, because I live it when I sign up for new SaaSes and I buy these great programs, they don't understand the journey from my perspective most of the time. And so I end up stuck or I end up in a position where I don't feel like I want to move forward or I just abandon because it feels too heavy or too confusing or what have you. And so if you can get yourself into the role of your customer through their lens, you have a lot of big opportunity there. And so I feel like the brands that do that, they are far superior from an acquisition and a retention standpoint.
What's the thought process we need to go through to understand it from their perspective? So they show up at our website, and how do we walk them through that journey and give them what they need to take that next step? How do we enter that story that's already going on inside their mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. It starts by really thinking about where they are, like in their personal journey, where they are that morning, like who are they? Because if we just think about it, oh, they clicked on this button, then what happens? That's great in a vacuum, right? Like utopia. Oh, they can't wait to come see your site, your program, your software. And so they're going to log in and they're going to click and this is good. But there's all the other stuff that influences their behaviors and their attitudes before they get there, right? So we have this formula we call the Kinetic Customer Formula, and it really looks at the attitudes that people have. Like, what are they thinking? What are they expecting? And how that really does drive the behaviors. What are they doing? And so when you get into character, and if you think about this from a theater perspective, like I was in theater, but I was a backstage guy. And I think I shared with you, like my son is going into the acting side. So it's interesting,
Right.
I've been really paying even more attention to it, like helping him on his journey and preparing for auditions for school and all this stuff and watching him get into character. Right. So I've been literally like currently like in it in a way that I had not been so deep previously. And it really is, if you think about like understanding the character and how they would say something, like when you talk about, think about someone that you truly care about. And maybe it's your mom or your spouse or whatever. It generates some emotions in you that then come to how you deliver the line when you're talking about that person. And it's true in our daily lives. So like, as you want to get into character, you have to understand, like, how are they thinking and feeling about things, people, places, scenarios. And so the more that you can really understand that, so it takes deep research or understanding of those avatars. And so you have to get inside their head in a different way. So in theater, they've used like two different primary methodologies to do that. One's called the Stanislavski method, was by this amazing Russian director and actor in the early 1900s. And then it was like improved upon in what they call the method acting model. And a lot of the actors today use the kind of the mashup of these two. Robert De Niro is like a very famous method actor. Al Pacino is a very famous method actor. And there's many of them, right? The best are that. And so they figure out how to become that character. They literally step into their shoes. So they go through, what would they eat for breakfast? What did they do? How did they, all of those things. And it's really interesting. Like the Stanislavski method has these questions where it asks like, what obstacles are in my way in order that are stopping me from achieving this goal? And it gets you to start thinking about it from the lens of that avatar, if you will, that character that they're going to play. And as we're thinking about it, we sometimes do these generic avatar exercises. They're married, they're 26 and a half years old, they're male, they're I don't know, Catholic, they went to private school, then they did this, they like Prada and Gucci and whatever. You go through like your basic stuff. But then it's, okay, what's behind, what drives their motivation? What do they truly want? Why do they do the things they do? And getting into that and starting to peel the onion. And we can do that through conversations with our clients by really talking to them. In the software world, we see the results of those things. Like we look at heat maps and we look at user journey data and things like that. We can see the behavioral side of it, but what's the thinking that's driving those behaviors? Like, why are they abandoning the cart? Why are they stopping the scroll? Why? And so what we do with our clients is we help them get to that why. Because when you start truly getting it from their lens, you can start to see, okay, how do I remove the friction in these spots that are stopping them? Or what kind of training or incentive or gamification elements or whatever do I need to put in to help make it a little bit more challenging, or make it a little easier, or make it a little more fun, or make it a little bit more obvious, or whatever those things are, right? So like I know for a fact, if I have an online training program and I know that the first module is like super easy, people get engagement. Second module is great. They're having fun. They're learning something. But module 3 is really where it gets hard. So they're in the third week of the program and it's like they have to do a lot of stuff that week. Like I may not be able to remove the stuff they have to do to get that result, but I can pre-frame that in a very powerful way that lets them know that this is the week where we have to go hard. This is the week where we get the biggest result. This is the week where we're going to be available to you. Like call us on the phone, join this Zoom office hour session, or whatever it happens to be. But let them know what's on the other side of this and really set it up hard in that moment. Because then it's like, all right, we're going to all go through this together. We're going to power through. It's like the Tough Mudder competition where everyone fights together and comes together as a team to get through it versus I'm out there on my own. This seems really hard. I'm going to do it another time. And then they don't come back to it. So it's about understanding it through that lens. And when you do that, there's a really powerful result on the other side. And there's a connection that's built. There's a deeper relationship that's built. There's a different pride of connection that's built. And I think, I'm sure you and I have a lot of similar thinking and stuff. I've really enjoyed our time together. I think you would agree with this, but like in the time where we are now with AI becoming so ubiquitous everywhere now very quickly and changing things so quickly and replacing people, it's not going to be enough for everybody. Like what we need now is we need community. We need
Yes.
relationship. We need support together. And so like all of us have to embrace AI or we're going to be irrelevant for sure. But I think we also have to go really deep on the community aspects and that experience and the journey and understanding our clients in a deeper way, through a different lens, so that we can build deeper relationship through all the things that we're doing now that help them get results.
And I think that's one of the great uses of AI is to automate the things that are repetitive and time consuming and low value so that we can focus on the community, on the experience, on the person, and really elevate that experience to where it is very human and we get them where the result that they want very quickly and it feels really good. And all the other steps in the process that don't have a whole lot of value, they may be necessary,
Yeah.
but lower value type things, all that can be automated. I think this is a huge use case for that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I knew we'd be totally aligned there. And that's where it's at, right? So like a lot of what we're spending a lot of time with people now in my world, and one part of my world is that it's like, how do we build deeper community and connection? And it comes down to the same core customer experience things that we've been teaching forever. It just gets more and more important every day that goes by because people are craving that. They're craving that connection. They're craving that relationship. And yeah, it's an opportunity for entrepreneurs and small business owners to win in a big way if they embrace it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Kinetic Customer Formula. Let's break that down. What is it and how does it work in order to help you map that journey and get them to the result in a way that is really good experience?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that question. So we've been doing this for over 30 years. I hate to say that. I feel so old.
I say things like that way too often now. And it's, wow,
Yeah, it feels awkward,
it can't have been that long, right?
Yeah. If I grew a beard like yours, mine would be all gray. So I keep it a little tighter. So I get it. Here's the thing. To us, the ultimate outcome is like a positive result for someone. And it's not always the same for everybody and what their goals are, what their dreams are, what their wishes are. But when they come into your business, right, the goals that we have for them is we want them to rave about their experience, like in a positive way where it's, wow, this really helped me. This really added value to my life. This really removed a problem or an obstacle, but so much so that they feel like they want to talk about it. It was extraordinary in a way. And I don't mean that in an over the top way. It's extraordinary. It's more than they expected. And it could be in a modest way, but it moves them enough to say something about it. So that's the first piece of results, rave. The second part is return. We want them to want deeper relationship. We want them to come back and buy something else from you because it felt good, because the products were awesome and they want to go deeper. They want to go bigger. They want to go longer, whatever that is in your business, if it's a membership or if it's a product-based sale or whatever it happens to be. So the second R in results for us is the return. The third is renew. So if they're in a SaaS relationship or they're on a subscription or they're a member of a mastermind, we want them to want to renew. We want them to ask for the renewal sheet before you offer it. We want them to be really excited about renewing and it be self-driven, right? So that they ask for it, not that we're pushing it or we're asking for it. A little bit more pull than push, if you will. And then lastly, we want them to recruit other people, right? Like it's beyond everyone's like raving fan. That's old news. What we want is, that's the first part, right? Rave. But what we want is recruit. I want them to go out and bring people in. I want them to be like, you know what? This is so good. This is going to help you. You have to do this. And they're like dragging them by the collar to come into the business, right? The best affiliates in the world are the ones that love your product, not that are there to just make a couple bucks, right? And those are your customers, whether you give them money for that referral or not. You give them praise and recognition. That's actually even more powerful most of the time. But it's because they feel the compulsion to, right? So to us, that's what the results look, right? And so whatever that is specifically in your business, that's fine. But at the highest level, it's rave, return, renew, and recruit, right? That's what we want them to get. For us, that's the Mac Daddy, right? That's the ultimate. So on the other side of this equation, so that's the equal sign, equals results. Then we have attitudes, which I mentioned earlier. And so the attitudes that people have are the things that they're thinking of or expecting. right? And so when people come into
Yeah.
your world, they have a set of beliefs and they have a set of expectations, whether or not you set them, right? And so the most powerful, smartest business owners out there, they actually design this. They understand the attitudes that people have and they manage and set the expectations so that it is clear, so that there's a match. And then they can actually influence those attitudes in a minute. So the way the formula works, it's A plus B, attitudes plus behaviors, right? And then the way we influence those was we did it with what we call momentum boosters. And so momentum boosters are a multiplier. So it's like A plus B in parentheses to the M power. So momentum boosters are things that you can do that will either shift the attitude or induce the right behavior. And so we have A types, which are the attitude boosters, and we have B types, which are the behavior boosters. And so when you look at your journey and you analyze it, we can actually help you pinpoint what you need to do and what things you can add into the mix to help, like, the wrong attitude or a less ideal attitude or a great attitude and magnify that, or we can change a behavior. So that's how we do that. And then we subtract the F, which is friction, right? We want to get the F out of the business, right? And it's important to understand friction. Now, friction sometimes can be good. Sometimes it can be bad, right? Sometimes you need to slow people down, so you need to add a little friction in. Sometimes you want to deter people so they have to work harder for something, so you add friction. So it's just a variable that you get to manage. And so sometimes you want to add a little more friction. Most of the time you want to remove friction. And so in this kind of formula, that'll all help you get to that R4 ideal result, that radical result that we have at the end. And so that's what we do. So we teach people this whole formula. We teach people how to analyze the journey. We have a very specific way that we help people map journeys, which is a little different from most because it allows us to take the journey and really dissect it on multiple levels. Right. So each step of a journey has multiple levels to it. It's not just, oh, I opened an email. That's cool. That's what they did. But there's like all these other layers. So if you think about it from that Stanislavski method, that method actor, like they're not just, oh, I sat down on the chair. What was I thinking when I sat down on the chair? Did I sit down on the chair like, or did I like comfortably sit down on the chair? Am I slumped over? Am I sitting up? All of those convey some different emotion, some different thing, right? And so for us, it's okay, great. They sat on the chair. Now, how did they sit on the chair? What were they thinking when they sat on the chair? What were they expecting when they sat on the chair? How were they feeling when they sat on the chair? Was anyone else around when they sat on the chair? Did someone else tell them to sit on the chair? Like all these other pieces. And it's funny, but it's not, because we miss this in so many situations. And once you see this and we show it to people, they can't unsee it. And so what they start doing is they start using this in other areas of their business and lives, because it's just an interesting model that allows you to visually see things that we don't ordinarily see. And so it takes intangibles and makes them visible. And so it's really interesting how it works. So once we map this out and we teach people how to do all that, then we show them how to analyze it, how to look at what we would call friction points, which are points of pain. And we show them how to rate them on a scale so that we can see, is it like an important friction point to remove? Is it not so important? Is it okay? Do we just have to set an expectation to offset it a little bit and whatever? And then we have our momentum boosters, right?
Ever notice how every leadership book tells you to take the journey, but none really show you the map? Well, after scaling multiple companies to over 260 million in combined revenue and working with over 1,000 leaders, I discovered the key difference that separates leaders who burn out from those who build unstoppable momentum. It's not strategy, not charisma, it's not even luck. It's relationships, specifically 4 of them. My new book, The Captain's Keys, reveals the stability matrix, a proven system that transforms leadership from survival into sustainable success. Inside, you'll discover the 4 critical relationships every leader needs and exactly how to build them. You can get your copy at thecaptainskeys.com, Amazon, or your favorite bookstore, and it's available in print, ebook, and audio. You don't need another playbook. You just need the right people in your boat.
So we look at what are these points of pleasure or these points of momentum that we can add in, because customers in momentum succeed.
Yes.
Customers that are stalled don't. And right. So as people, we like to be moving forward. And so we want people to be doing that. So like we help people understand how to do that. And the Kinetic Customer Formula is the model that we do that. And it's the way we do that. And yeah, that's pretty much how it works. And it's pretty foolproof. No guarantees, of course. These are paid actors. But at the end of the day, it's just really you see the holes and then you fill the holes. And is there a better way to fill the hole? Maybe. So then you experiment and you play. But you start to look at it from a different perspective. And then I think it becomes more fun. Then it's like really understanding your customers. And what it forces you to do is to have a deeper relationship with your customers. Like the most important thing I ever learned from theater, hands down, and there's a lot that I learned, is really like everything's about the audience. Everything we
Yes.
do is for the audience. And in business, everything we do is for the customer, but we often are more focused on the business needs than we are on the customer needs. And it's just when you're in that theater world, like that's never you don't ever think that way. You just can't, because it's always, if I put something on the stage here, who's not going to see it? And like you're thinking about the entire audience, right? Everything's about the sight line and who's going to miss it and which are better seats than others because of that. And when I'm acting and I'm playing, who am I looking at? Everything's for that. Like the way the props look, the costumes, the makeup, the lights, everything. And so in a business, like when you can start to really be audience first in your approach and your understanding, it's really hard not to succeed. Because you create these fans for life. You create these customers that really become family in a way, and they want to help you. They want you to succeed. They are grateful because you helped them succeed. So it's really powerful.
How does story overlay on top of that? We're doing it all for the audience. And so it's really choreographing that experience. How does the story fit on top of that to move that forward?
Yeah, I think it's actually embedded in it, not just on top of it.
Love it.
It's, again, if you understand the character, you understand your customer, you understand the role, their story is part of the bigger story. And so it's like it's embedded in multiple layers. And I think that's why, as I was saying, like the way we map the journey, every one of the things has a motivation behind it. So if I sit on the chair, that reason why, it connects to the bigger part of the story. It may be seeding something that's going to happen 9 steps later or 3 scenes later, but it's setting it up. And so if you believe that your entire journey is a story, which it is, in my opinion, then each of the scenes or moments or bits or interactions is part of that bigger story. And it's either telling part of it, it's reminding you of part of it, or it's foreshadowing part of it. And so if you really start to think about it, like so the way we start out with all of our customers, the first thing we do is we create what we call a dream customer script. And so if we take this avatar and they finished your journey, we write the story that they would share of their experience.
Oh, that's good.
Right? So what it is not is a standard testimonial. Is it a testimonial? Yeah, but it beats every other one you've ever seen because it's talking about the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, the things they saw, the things they unsaw, the things that they learned, the things they unlearned, the things that were hard, the things that were easy, the way they move, the way they grow, right? And so they're really talking about that whole journey. So if you write that, so you get into character, you become the character, and then you understand what it is and you walk the journey and you start talking it through. So this is how we help people design journeys, right? We actually put ourselves in that future place as if we already achieved that result, and we write it as if it already happened in the past. And so we're remembering what happened. We're not thinking about what could happen. We're remembering what happened. It changes the way you think about it.
Mm.
And so as you start to articulate it, you actually start to decide in a way what needs to be in place for that customer. And it's not all the code behind the scenes. It's literally
Right.
What are they seeing? What are they doing? And then you can figure, okay, now that's front stage, right? Backstage, what do I need in the code base? Or what do I need on this? Or all those things. And so it starts to help you really align your front stage and your backstage, because it's our belief that anything that doesn't support the front stage experience, anything that's not for the audience, goes away. It's noise, it's distraction, it's extra cost that doesn't need to be there, right? And so if you start out from the end in mind, it's all a reverse engineering experience, right? But we write it from that person, that user's experience, that customer's experience, what the highs and lows, how that whole journey worked. you now, just like we did with that director in that very beginning, he did the same thing. Now we can figure out how to stage it so that we get that result. So if I want someone to say, I just joined Jeff's program and holy crap, the first time I spoke to someone blew my mind. Let me tell you what happened. And then they go in, and so you're making this up, you describe it. And so part of your sales process is that point is going to be telling them, foreshadowing what the ultimate experience is so that they look for it. So I'm setting an expectation and I'm pre-framing the journey in ways so that they're looking for positive things, or they're looking for the other things. Or I might even say, and there's a couple Easter eggs along the way. So they're looking for them. Because if I tee it up, they don't know and they're not going to look for it. And it's not going to keep their engagement. But if I can set an expectation of what's going to happen, if you know this, you do webinars and other kinds of things. And we believe so much in our programs. I know you do too. And the help we can provide people, that it's like our duty to help enroll them in it. It's not that we're selling, we're sharing, we're enrolling, we're inviting people to change their lives in a way. And so I believe that I need to do everything in my power to help them make a great decision. It might be no, and that's okay. But if it's yes, I want to help them understand how it's going to help them. And so when I set up in a webinar or a training or a live event or whatever it happens to be, or actually in the program, I'm giving people the customer script that I want them to say all throughout the journey. I'm literally telling them what I want them to say, and I'm showing them how to achieve what I wanted as we're going through. So it dramatically improves the chances that they're going to have that positive outcome. There's almost no way, unless they don't engage, that they're not going to get it, because I'm rewiring their brain subconsciously to do it in a way that's going to help them. And I'm also removing the friction. I'm giving them the tools. I'm giving them the motivation, and I'm giving them the stories that are going to be the positive stories that get them there. So if I say to someone, hey, I want you to believe that you attract money. Like, you attract money. Right? Get a little woo here, right? And so I want you to look for proof and evidence that you attract money. And so they're walking down the street and they see a penny on the ground. Oh my God, I attract money, right? I did that.
Yeah.
Now, whether they attracted it or I walked 10 feet in front of them, I just shifted a belief that they can attract money that's going to help them do something else positive.
Yeah.
So like I shared with you, a couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, right? And I had two choices that I knew of. Maybe there's others, but the two choices: one, I could believe I'm going to live, or I could believe I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Those are my two choices, right? Because just nothing happening it's too late for that. So I'm in it, right? And so I chose that I want to live and I'm going to live. And I started looking for proof and evidence of things that were going to help me believe that. And I started to believe different things. Now, if I believe, and incidentally, 6 months later, I was cancer-free, and I'm still 2 years later cancer-free. And I'm super grateful. And I'm super grateful to all the doctors and the healers and everybody that has been part of that journey, including you. Like, everyone that's been part of my story has helped me get where I'm going to be. And if I believe that I'm not going to be well, that's not going to serve me. If I believe that I am going to be well, it's going to serve me even if I'm wrong. Right?
Yep.
So there's no downside to picking that. So if I say to someone like, look, you attract money, I'm going to show you how to find proof of that. Look for when you see a penny on the ground. Look for when you scratch a little lottery ticket and you won $3, even though you bought the $1 million lottery, you didn't win $1 million, but you won $10. You attract money. Look for the proof and evidence. And when you start believing that, you start to have a little bit more confidence when you go out there and you make an offer, you try and sell something. Like, it just changes and shifts all the stories in your head. And so as I start to make journeys and create journeys for people, I show them the proof and evidence, or help them find, better yet, the proof and evidence that they are making progress towards their goal. Because then they believe it and they work harder. They stay engaged. They show up to the coaching calls. They do the work because they're seeing it themselves. And so I have to think through, what is the proof and evidence that they need to see that it's working? And then I have to help them find it and keep helping them find it all throughout the journey. And even if they're not in the beginning, I have to keep their mindset positive to keep looking for that, because we have all the cognitive biases in our head. Like, our brain is programmed to do as little work as it can, save as many calories. And so it wants to use past information to draw a conclusion in the present. And so I don't want it to think, oh, I bought all these programs before, they never worked. They're going to assume, they're going to try and prove that this one's the same. So I have to help them prove that this piece of software, this program, or this thing, I have to help them prove and find evidence that this is different. And so when I do, they start to believe it and they start to get the result, because beliefs drive everything, right? And so for me, as you said, like, the story doesn't just sit on top, it's baked into every single step. Because if it's baked into every single step, you don't step out of the story. So like, just think about theater for a second. Like, you go to the show, you actually turn off your phone, you stop the distractions, and the orchestra starts playing, and you get into it. And for 2 hours, you're very present because you're in the story. What if people were in the story with your business? What if they shut off the distractions and they were following the storyline and they were invested in the outcome? That's what we help people do, is really truly invest in that outcome for themselves and then find proof and evidence along the way. So the story is the journey. And then there's littler stories, little micro stories that are subsets of the bigger story, but there's the bigger story. And that's really, if you design that, if you're like the best author and you write the best story, you write the Harry Potter or whatever for your business, you're going to have thousands of people reading it and probably putting on the costume and pretending that they are it at some point. They will be so connected to your brand, right? And that's what it's all about, especially today in this AI world. So, yeah.
Why do so many founders not do that? Why don't they create that narrative and the story and the journey? Or maybe they do it at a surface level, but they don't go deep.
I'm curious what you think about this too. I don't know for sure. Like, my gut initial reaction to that question is they don't know any better. Like, a lot of us start a business because we had an idea or we had this crazy epiphany at one point or whatever. And so we start something, right? The old Michael Gerber, we had an entrepreneurial seizure.
Entrepreneur.
Right? Yeah, we had the entrepreneurial seizure and then we're in it. And some of us go bigger and some of us stay stuck, right? And so I think there's a lot of that, to be very candid with you. I just think we just don't know. So like, how would we know? Like, we're just trying to make a decent product that works. And like, we're fixing code and we're fixing this and then we're doing a bug fix and whatever. Even if you're not a software business, we're fixing the problems. We've put out a product that we're proud of, but we're also like learning on the job. So we're building the plane as we're flying it always. And so we're always, most of us, we end up so in the business, we can't work on the business, the old adage. And so if you can't, like, the things I'm talking about, either you're a secondary founder, it's like your second business, you've exited the first one, and now you want to do it by design and you're doing the things I'm talking about. Or you got to a point where you realized, I have to have time to work on my business. And so I'm going to do that. And that's where I think you can start to really think about all of this stuff and put it into action in a better way. But it is literally binary, is if you're going to be a successful or failure if you don't think about this stuff. But what do you think? I don't know.
I would agree that some of it is they don't know. And if they do know, like, they're listening to this episode, they're like, that sounds really hard. Maybe they buy into it, but maybe a little bit, and just get distracted by doing a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And the third one is, a lot of the founders that I work with in particular are technical, probably 75%. And they're like, it's more about the features.
Yep.
And if I just build an awesome product and great features, that will attract the right people in. And sometimes that works, but that is definitely the rarity. A lot of times it is those second-time founders. They go, I really want to do this by design. I don't want to make the same mistakes I did the first time.
Yeah, I want to do it right.
I want to do it different.
Yeah. I love that. And I do. So many of us lead with features, not benefits, right? And and that's awesome for acquisition, but it's not for retention. And at the end of the day, we all have to be in the retention business. So I have a new book that's coming out, actually. It's called Addicted to Strangers. And it literally addresses this, that we have this addiction to new business, to bringing in strangers to the business. And we forget about all the people that already said yes to us. Right. And I think it's a really awesome book. My buddy Russell Brunson's writing the foreword to it. And it's going to be coming out soon. But it's so interesting. But like, we need the revenue. We need the customers coming in. But there's a quadratic return. Not even compounding. There's a quadratic return on making the people that already bought from us happy. because that they refer, they become the best marketing in the beginning.
Right.
And if you're a SaaS, we know the longer they stay, the better it is, right? Like it's from an exit perspective, think about it. Like if you kept all your customers for an extra 6 months, what would that mean? LTV goes up tremendously.
Yes.
Right? And so like we have to be in the LTV business, not the CAC business ultimately. So I joke around with people that run ads. I don't know if you guys talk about this so much in your space, but ROAS, return on ad spend, right? Yeah. So I hate that we spend all of our time thinking about ROAS in that way. So in the book, I talk about a new definition for ROAS, which is return on audience success, and really shifting the ROAS to the other side, right? Because if we really focused more on the return of our audience success, the other ROAS goes up. And so if you increase the return on audience success, the return on ad spend goes up. It can't not, because your ad costs go down because you're sharing your own case studies and testimonials and things like that. And so I feel so frustrated by the constant obsession over get new people. We get them in, and then our focus goes to get new people, and these people are flailing. And like we have this like super big leaky bucket on the other side, and we're not figuring out how to plug that because it's just so expensive to get a new customer. And not saying we shouldn't do that, but 100% of people's budgets, for the most part, go to customer acquisition, and very small amounts of their budget go to customer retention. And I think that's a paradigm that has to shift.
It's completely backwards.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't realize that in the beginning, because in the beginning, you got to get new customers. So you get on this hamster wheel, right? And it's like a vortex that keeps you stuck. You're stuck in the eye of the hurricane. You know what I mean? Like you're stuck in it and you can't break out of it because that's the model that you know, and it's what's feeding the machine. And I get that. I get that. But if you don't solve this and that, you're going to keep this. Then has to be like, as ad costs increase and as competition comes in, it just gets more and more expensive to the point where you can't afford to do it anymore. And you're just losing people faster than you bring them in. It's hard to see. It's hard to see when you're in it. You know, it's the boiling the frog analogy, right? You're in the pot and it's getting hotter and you don't know. And hopefully you finally realize it and jump out before it's frog soup. And I see so many founders get stuck in that they just can't break free.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's a tough one. Churn is something, it starts small and you're like, oh, it's only 1%, 2%. Yeah, it's just a few. And then it's a few more.
Yeah.
And even if it is just a few, what happens is it's just a few over 12 months. And if it's only 3 a month, now it's 36, it's 4, it's 48, it's 50, it's 100. It's as many as you're boarding over a quarter.
Yeah.
So it could be thousands.
Yeah. So with the SaaS companies that I've worked with, and I've worked with way fewer than you, but what I tell them is stop using percentages and start using numbers on that, because like your 2% seems small for any business. But if you know that it's 4,396, that's equal to 2%, you start to care a little more. You know what I mean? So some of these...
Or tracking the dollars associated with
dollars too. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's people who are not
100%.
getting what they want. And some of them are people that got what they want and now they're done. So what's next? If you really analyze why is the churn happening, there's actually a gold mine, not just in keeping the customers, but also some of them want to spend more money with you. They want to go deeper and you're just not even listening. You know what I mean? So it's a powerful thing. And it's also a dangerous thing. Think about it. Like the amount of money you spend, and this is true with employees too, incidentally, right? So we're talking very much like audience as the customer, but there's another audience, which is your employees. And then there's a third audience, which is your partners, your JVs, your vendors, like whoever that is, right? So like in every business, like we don't think about just the customer journey. That's one like third of the puzzle, right? There's also the partner journey or any kind of outside third parties. And then there's the employee journey. Like you spend so much money on getting an employee, like to hire them, interview them, bring them in, train them, have them have access to all the things. Like how are we growing them? How are we keeping them? How are we, whatever. Same thing with your customers. We spend so much money to get them in. Like what's the next step for them? You know, what's going to keep them engaged? And if they're leaving, why are they leaving? Like, how do we plug that? And you're never going to keep everybody, and that's okay. but there should be a reason, and you should understand what those reasons are. And then you can decide, do I want to address this reason or not? There's a statistic that I share in our training program. And essentially, for every one customer who complains, 21 others remain silent.
Wow.
That's a wow statistic, right? It's a
It
scary
is.
statistic.
It is.
I have a lot of statistics I share with people. That's the one that has always I feel it when I read that statistic and I share that statistic to people. And it's because you have this like sleeper cell that you don't know about, and they're
Yeah.
unhappy, and that grows. And unhappiness, it's a virus, it spreads. Right? The energy, like, and whether you're spiritual or not or whatever, doesn't matter. But there's an energy. We all have an energy. And you can tell when someone's having a bad day, you feel it. You can even feel it in
Yes.
text messages, right? And an email. Like, they don't have to be nasty, but you can tell a lot of the time,
Yeah.
right? Or at least you have a suspicion, right? So there's an energy of negativity or dissatisfaction. And what I say in the book actually is that there's so many, especially online businesses, that are really dissatisfaction factories. And what they're doing is they're magnifying, like they have this problem, and at scale, it magnifies and then it spreads even faster. The coefficient of spread gets bigger. It becomes a viral coefficient at some point where it's not like a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2. It's like a 1-to-50, and then a 1-to-500, and then a 1-to-1,000,000. And so it becomes this really big problem, and it can take down a business very quickly if you're not careful. Like, a friend of mine shared this quote. I use it. I stole it from him with love, and he lets me use it. But he says, a raving fan can become a raving lunatic in an instant. And it's true.
That's really good.
But it's true, right? It's scary.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
scary. And so if you understand that, you want to make space so that you figure out how to not let those things happen. Because if they're becoming a raving lunatic, listen, there's people out there that are never going to be happy. Like, you can't, and that's fine.
Right. Right.
Then you can refund them or wish them well or whatever you need to do. That's fine. But if it really was someone that's a raving fan and they got really upset, there's a reason. There's
Yes.
a thin line between love and hate. There really is. And so you have to be careful of some of these things. And if you think about that one dissatisfied customer, 21 others remain silent, oh my God. That's how it starts to spread. And I don't want people to focus on negativity. I want them to focus on positivity. How do we get people having a better experience? How do we get people sharing that experience? Because if you really go through that Kinetic Customer Formula and you understand the R4, the radical results, rave, return, renew, and recruit, if you focus on those 4 things and think about it through the journey, I said 4 things with 3 fingers up. I should learn to count. 4 things. If you look at that on those 4 levels, you don't have that problem, right? And if you do, it's an isolated incident that you can solve versus a pandemic. We all just went through a pandemic. We can see how quickly that can spread and can take down a world for a period of time. So I don't want people having that in their business. Like, one of my missions is to help the small business owners, the entrepreneurs out there really thrive. And I think now's our time even more. I've always thought it was our time. I think entrepreneurs are the people that do change the world. And I think now with AI and easier for anybody to come on the scene, the really committed and solid entrepreneurs are going to be the ones that are here for the long haul. And I think it's an exciting time and not a scary time when you start to understand these principles.
Where can people learn more about you and about the Radical Company online?
Yeah, a little gift for your people. If y'all want the book, it's not out yet. It's coming out very soon, that Addicted to Strangers book. That's probably the best way to connect with me. I have a URL at strangers.radicalinc.com. And you can opt in. I'll give you a free ebook copy of the book when it comes out. And you'll get a couple emails so that you can follow up with us. And yeah, I definitely look forward to chatting with anybody that's got any questions.
Fantastic. We'll be sure and put that in the show notes, and everybody needs to hop over there and grab a copy of the book, especially if it's coming out soon. Now is the time to get on that list.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And I don't know, I know you've written a few books and you've got me beat, and it's a labor of love. You pour your heart
It
into
is.
and you just want to help people. So looking forward to anyone that reads it. Love to hear feedback and especially hear how you've been able to implement things that are in there, because it's a real game changer for everybody that we've worked with. And I look forward to helping more people.
That's awesome. Jason, it has been such a pleasure having you back again. Always a great conversation. Thanks for coming back to SaaS Fuel.
Amazing. Thanks, buddy. Great to be here.
Thanks again, Jason, for coming on the show and sharing your insights and resources. You can learn more about Jason and his company, Radical, at radicalinc.com. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel. It's at Champion Leadership. Lots of resources over there for you. Thought leaders share. Share this episode with a founder who's 3 Chrome tabs away from a breakthrough and 7 tabs away from burnout. I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially at this time of year. Well, everyone who shares this week gets a browser extension that auto closes tabs labeled research, inspo, and circle back later after midnight for your own good. I wonder what really happens behind the mic and inside the mind of this crazy person steering the conversations. Well, next up, we've got a special Christmas episode. No guest, no script, just hard-earned lessons, honest reflections, and practical insights pulled straight from the trenches of leadership growth and building companies that last. We're counting down my top 10 takeaways from all 104 episodes in 2025. All the best tips, all the best tricks, all the best insights. And we've got some really cool things to go along with that. Assets, resources, we're going to bundle together. I'm really surprised that we're doing it and really excited that we are. So lots of value going to happen on Christmas. So download that episode and take it with you wherever you're traveling. Then coming up after that, next week, New Year's week on Tuesday, we have Varun Jain, co-founder of ComplyJet. He's on a mission to help B2B SaaS startups move faster by making trust effortless, bringing perspective across AI, enterprise automation, and high growth, and probably a little MBA from Stanford. Kind of cool. Varun is rethinking how startups tackle SOC 2, HIPAA, and ISO 27001 in an AI native world. Well, safe travels this week. I will see you next time. Download a few episodes and take them with you. And as always, enjoy the journey. Merry Christmas, y'all.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/SaaSFuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.